What is up, everybody? Star Wars Dad back for another video. Today we're going to be revisiting Han ECL, Young Han ECL. Looking at the ramp version that I've done several videos on, just with some tweaks and updates with the Twilight Republic cards in here. A quick announcement: I will be starting a Patreon page, still in the works. So basically, how that's going to work is there'll be a free membership page where a lot of things will kind of be posted there. You know, that you'll have access to a lot of the things that I post on YouTube, but on the membership page, I will have a database with all of my deck lists, and all of them will be up to date or be regularly updated on a daily, weekly basis, with more detailed descriptions on how to play the deck, and sideboard plan, and then a maybe board as well of like cards to consider will be included in each of those updated deck lists on the database. We'll also have like a discussion board where we just talk about the meta in general, and thoughts, and what's competitive, what decks to bring to tournaments. Also just the maybe some sleeper decks that might be good ideas. I mean, the goal of that discussion is just going to be to help all the members to do better at tournaments, and to just kind of help each other out and have like a community, and decks that we as a community can come up with together that can be competitive and can surprise some of these meta decks. I think a lot of times what happens, especially in the the way things are on the internet now, a lot of times a deck does good, and then everybody copies that deck list, and then everybody brings that exact same deck list to a tournament, and then they just keep playing it over and over again with minor tweaks here and there. And then it starts to get stale eventually because everyone's just playing the same things. And I think, obviously, that makes sense to a certain extent because you want to play the things that work. But I always have found that there's always other lists and other decks and archetypes that still can be really, really good against the top 3 or 4 decks that are being played. And I think that it's easier to pick something that has had success. But I think the purpose would be to talk about things that are right on the fringe, or that have a chance, or maybe haven't gotten enough attention because they were still in the works. Like a good example might be like the Chancellor Palpatine blue deck, where it's like we're still kind of working the kinks out of that deck because it's so different than the other leaders. But that's one of those decks that, as you work it out more and more and more, and kind of shape it to fit the meta, that's a deck that could really be strong, down the stretch. So just kind of being able to talk about things like that. There's going to be a giveaway, but that's going to include members, free members, and paid members as well. The giveaways are going to be better though, for the members of the Patreon. So I'm still going to be doing my subscriber giveaways on YouTube, of course, but the giveaways on the Patreon are going to be a little more high end. Like, for example, I think the first giveaway, once I get going and things start going, and the idea is that it's going to be like on the 15th of every month. I'm not sure if that's going to be next month right away, but it basically, as soon as we start getting members coming in, then we'll start to do that. But the first giveaway is going to be a Luke Skywalker unit. Just going to be start giving away like legendaries and rares and bulk as well. But the legendaries are going to be very relevant to the meta and things that are like $40 cards. And that's going to be a once a month giveaway, where all members will have a chance at winning one of those. And then the other part of the Patreon is just going to be, as we get new sets, it's going to be like theory crafting, and like you'll still see me do videos on some of the new ideas I have, but a lot of the lists that that I don't have time to do videos on, you're going to be seeing a lot of the theory crafting from that. So basically, access to every single deck list that I have is going to be there. And it's just, a way to support my channel, to support me, and just to kind of help to continue to grow and just kind of have a place to communicate regularly. I have so many people asking me questions all the time. I just figured I might as well do a Patreon and just kind of have a place where people can talk, and I can just throughout the day regularly answer questions and talk to people and just kind of have a community that's active, as well as have a ton of deck lists, and that'll be constantly updated and tweaked as updates are made. But yeah, so let's get into this deck list now. Not a lot of changes, but enough that it was worth talking about. The biggest thing I would say that changed for me is without Boba in the meta anymore, I'm more focused on just dealing with aggro and then being more aggressive myself, so that when I play against control, that I can just go a little wider. But still sticking to the theme of like benefiting from ramping and getting big payoffs, but not as focused on that. That's a little more sideboard focused if I'm going to be in for a long haul or a game against like a mid-range or control list. But the main thing is just to kind of be able to take out aggro. So when we're looking at this list, there's a lot of ways to gain life. There's a lot of sentinels. And then, because of our ability to cheat things out, and then just our ability to occasionally ramp early, not only with Han's ability, but like the Spark of Hope turn 1 play, or just a random resupply, and while being able to cheat any unit and things like that. We have a lot of 4 and 5 resource or higher cards that are going to be the cards that help us to take over and win the game. Definitely check out some of my earlier videos on this deck to kind of see where it started. There's another version that's not as focused on ramp, and it's just more focused on going wide. I think that deck is fine, and it's definitely had some success, but for me as a player, I've always preferred this version, where you're using tech to pull things out later. You're doubling up on Han's ability by using ramp events as well. You're doing the turn 1 Reckless Gunslinger Spark of Hope play, which is really sweet, which gets you to 4 resources, so you can play Poe, or in this case Aela Secure, or Ayla Secure, however you say it, on turn 2. Secura is really amazing in here, and it gives this deck an added boost, especially because it's so easy to hit 5 resources in here, and it's also very easy to get 3 units on the board. And then now there's an argument where, because I'm playing that, maybe I should take out Crate Dragon, maybe I should take out Assault Cruiser and Reinforcement Walker and all those really, really expensive cards, or at least trim it down so that I have some cheaper units to go along Secura. And I don't think you're wrong. I think that that's player preference, and I think it's going to take a little more testing to see. But I did add in 2 Cassian and 2 K2SO to help me to always have a turn 1 play. Like in this deck, in testing, I have not had a situation yet where I didn't have a turn 1 play or turn 1 unit. I mean, we have 9, 12, 14, 17, 18 turn 1 plays. So I mean, I think we're fine. So if I'm trying to go that route and just drop that down on turn, or be able to attack with it, I guess, on turn 4, and it not to take any damage, then I absolutely should be okay. You got to remember too, you're flipping Han, so all you need is really 1 unit out on the board, and then you flip Han, and then you ECL in Secura. So it's not something I'm that worried about, because getting 1 unit out there is not going to be a problem with Han's solo and its ability by the time I'm at 5 resources. or attacking in with secure. I mean, ideally you want to ECL it, obviously, to maximize its value, but sometimes just cheating it out a turn early is really nice, and then attacking in with it. Or even better, you cheat in Poe a turn early. It has a 6/6 on board, and then you ECL out Secura the following turn, so you have Poe and Secura on board at the same time, which is nuts. I really do think that card is just a really, really strong, let's call it a medium expensive unit that gives this deck even more power. Because, like, I always say with this deck, like, the core of this deck that helps you to win these games with this particular version is like Poe and Wrecker, right? Like those two cards and the ability to get them out earlier, like Poe on turn 2, Wrecker on turn 3, potentially. And just either way, you're cheating them out early no matter what with Han Solo. That's always been like the big boom of this deck for me, and why I originally was like, whoa, that's crazy. You add in Secure to that now, that just gives you another one of those type of units that can just take things out. It's like the ultimate defender, and it's also a 6-powered unit to put pressure on your opponent if you're trying to just close out the game. So yeah, I think that's the biggest addition, and really the most relevant thing. You could, you know, there's arguments for other cards from the new set, and I think, you know, that starts to change the entire deck around. And for me, once now that we're getting into, like, you know, we're just building upon decks that have already had some success, and, you know, I think I'm not going to be tweaking them too much unless it makes a lot of sense to just completely change them around. In this particular version, I just cut some things, move some things around, and then put in Ayla Secura, and then I put in the K2SO just because it, and the Cassian just because it helps boost our control matchup, and then Cassian's just good because it's basically a 3/3 on turn 1. So, and those are two cards that have been like on the outskirts of my list anyways for the ramp version. Like, I think when you're playing the non-ramp version, those cards are like automatic inclusions, and you take out Resupply and Spark of Hope, and then add in some more cheap units like Battlefield Marine or Sabine or Green A-Wing or whatever cards. For this particular version, which is the one I prefer, because I just like getting to those big payoffs. Like, it feels so good to be getting to Poe, Secura, Wrecker, Reinforcement Walker, and then even the Cruiser and the Crate Dragon as our, you know, any one of those cards can be a closer. The Assault Cruiser obviously is just an amazingly fun card. That's why it's just one Marauder, one Assault Cruiser, because, you know, the Assault Cruiser is a little more expensive, but it does have Ambush, and it comes in as a 7/6 essentially on 7 resources, which is crazy. And then whatever it kills, it will immediately make it a resource to help us ramp even more, which is amazing. And then we have tech in there in our list so that we can pull our opponent's spaceships, specifically Fett's Fire Spray or Ruthless Raider, since that's getting more play, or even the new one, Squadron of Vultures, out now, out of our own resources with tech to be able to play those cards later. So that's pretty sweet. And that's why you play Tech and Assault Cruiser together. I don't think I've talked about this deck in a while. Tech is super sweet in here, especially the ramp version, because a lot of times you're tucking away those really expensive things and you're pulling them out later. You notice that, you know, from my earlier versions, like this version is not as focused on Crate Dragon. I don't think you need it to be. I think having 2 is enough, because there's still games where I want to be able to use the Crate Dragon as you know, it's just like a ramp up, even pull in the Super Laser Tech as a 4th version of Resupply just to like ramp me up so fast. And I still have subtle ramp built in with Marauder and Assault Cruiser's legit ramp, just more expensive, so that we can kind of get to that end game of Crate Dragon and home 1 against control matchups, in addition to already just playing aggressively. But it just kind of gives us an alternative route. But let's kind of break down the list and kind of go through it real quick as I as I've said, I've done a few videos on this particular deck type or archetype, whatever you want to call it. Um, this is still one of my top 3 decks to play in regular, against other people. I think it has the element of surprise. It has a lot of life gain built in, the ambush effects built in. You have You have modded cohort, marauder, assault cruiser. You have the ECL. You have timely intervention. You have wrecker as a form of removing things, and people always say that have always told me in the past that that doesn't make sense because you're destroying resources when you're trying to ramp, and it's like it absolutely makes sense because it's actually the perfect deck for wrecker because you can cheat it out at 5 resources and even destroy one of your own resources to do 5 damage, like to a Sabine, for example. If you just want to find a way to like take out Sabine, right? It's like just a removal spell, and then it's very easy for you to ramp back up if you had to do that. Now, of course, in an ideal situation, that's not what you're trying to do. Is like cheat out a unit and then destroy a resource. But what's awesome is that you can do it and still be okay. And the fact that Wrecker is just already an amazing card, and then having the ability to get it out so early in this list and use it as a removal spell is just really, really good. So, and then of course, just one more thing to kind of mention before I break down the list. We are a little more space heavy. I think that's because there's been a lot of Django Red. Disabling Fangfighter in itself obviously doesn't work with Han's ability because it would just die. I guess you could technically cheat it out for 2 in a situation where you just wanted to get rid of an upgrade, but it would immediately die. But there are so many upgrades. I think a lot of the lightsabers are going to be used now. I mean, obviously we already have Dark Saber, we have the new Green Saber, we have Jedi Lightsaber, Fallen Lightsaber. Disabling Fangfighter is going to be huge this meta, so any deck where it makes sense, I'm going to play it in the main board because it's going to be very, very strong right now. And obviously we have 3 Poe to take out upgrades as well, which is still really strong. But yeah, let's break down the list and kind of talk through some things a little bit if you haven't or aren't familiar with this iteration of this deck. And then I'll do a few example games just to kind of show you how this list works and how. Okay, so to do a real quick breakdown, since I spent a longer talking about this deck beforehand. So the 2 timely intervention just has an added boost of things to ambush in, and we can do that with a lot of our more expensive units very easily in here as we ramp up. The 3 Reckless Gunslinger and the 3 Spark of Hope, of course, for the turn 1 ramp play to get us to 4 resources by turn 2 immediately. I did add in 3 of the Baby Echo. You do not see that in the testing today, but after testing, I felt like it makes so much sense in here. It gives us another turn 1 play, and then it actually can be cheated out for 1 resource when it's the 3rd unit or more on board, and it will still live as a 4/4 with 2 damage. So it's that part is great. Obviously, just to play it on curve into more and more units, it gets stronger and becomes a 4/4 is really good. And then the synergy it has with the bigger Echo to where we can discard it so that we could even get the turn 2 Echo as a 6/6 in a perfect situation there. But just in general on the turn 3 play for Echo to be a 6/6 is really good. It's just taking out a lot of leaders. And it also has synergy with Marauder because if we discard it with Echo's ability on curve, then Marauder can actually ramp up more often if we have an Echo on board and an Echo in the discard pile. So that's more likely to happen, a little more likely. So it just makes a lot of sense in here. Echo Base Defender is just a Sentinel on the ground that we can cheat out on turn 1. 3 Consortium is another great turn 1 play. So that we can try to gain some subtle life when we have the initiative, and it's just a good unit to have in space as a 3/3 or a 3/1 in space on turn 1. Sundari, of course, is a great turn 1 play to give us a Restore 2 unit as a 3/3 when it attacks in. Cassian's a 3/3 on turn 1. It's also great to pull out of our resources later against control. 2 Disabling Fangfighter in the main board, 1 in the side. just as I spoke about, to deal with all those upgrades. 1 tech to be able to pull a lot of our bigger units out. There's definitely an argument that you could have more techs, maybe another one on the sideboard. I think that's a good argument. Again, I think that takes a little more testing to see how relevant it is, but it does really help against discard decks, which I think could be a problem for this list. 3 resupplies, another form of ramp. 2 Bright Hope as a Sentinel in space. I originally had the 3rd copy in here. That's another one that's kind of like in the maybe board for this deck. The 3 Echo that we spoke about, 3 modded cohort, of course, is just a great turn 2 play to ambush in, whether you've cheated or whether you've ramped up or not. You can still cheat it out. It will die though, usually on turn 2 if you cheat it out. But just it's great as a good form of defense. The 1 Marauder that we spoke about, 3 Poe, 3 Sakura, of course, is our kind of our I would say the backbone of the deck are those 2 cards, as well as Wrecker. Those 3 cards really, just because we can just win the game with those 3 cards. Like we don't need the bottom row all the time, but there's going to be games where the bottom row really does help us a lot. So, and again, if you prefer the reversion without ramp, definitely check out that list that I had posted earlier, and I'll post it in the description as well. Of course, Poe is the MVP of this deck because of its ability to play offense and defense. Ayla Secura is just an added power boost as a 6-powered unit, and it's an incredible defender. And like I said, it's very easy to get 3 units in this deck where we are able to cheat out units, which is another reason why I play Baby Echo, just to have another cheap unit. The 3 Wrecker, of course, is incredible in here. A lot of times we just win with Wrecker. It's great to blow up a unit and feel like we're not missing out. Another thing to say about Wrecker, a lot of times when we're at 7 or 8 resources, blowing up a resource is not a problem, because at 7 or 8 resources we can play everything in our deck, especially at 8 resources, right? So if you're including Crate Dragon, so we can timely intervention it in, and then blow up a resource and still be fine and be able to play anything in our list. So that's what I end up doing that a lot with Wrecker too. So 3 Reinforcement Walker, of course, is one of our closers. It's great at getting us card draw, card advantage, and gaining life in case we need to stabilize against decks that are a little more aggressive, that we've been playing just defense against over and over again. The Assault Cruiser, of course, for the tech combo, and just as a strong way to deal with things in space. That may be a need to have another tech and another Assault Cruiser. Right now I have 2 Home 1 in the sideboard as another form of space and as a way to gain more life as well. But and also Home 1 just allows us to get back a lot of units from our discard pile. And then the 1 Crate Dragon in the main, 1 in the side for those more mid-range control matchups, just to be able to cheat it out really early if we ramp up quickly. 2 K2SO in the side for control, 2 Fell the Dragon for more mid-range and control lists, or just decks that play a lot of bigger units. Like if we were playing against a deck like this, Fell the Dragon would come in at 6 resources most likely. 2 Pillage is going to be for more mid-range and control. Home 1 is going to be sometimes against aggro, depending on what kind of aggro it is, and then it's going to be for control to help us to get our units back for those heavy removal decks, and then Crate Dragon, of course. So just kind of to break down the list, but let's get into a few games so I can kind of show you how this deck works and how I play it and why I love this deck. Again, the Baby Echo is not going to be in here, but I do think that it does help our curve a little bit, and like I said, it helps the bigger Echo to be a 6/6 a lot more often. And of course, you can use the Baby Echo later in the game as well. So just keep that in mind, that is not in the playtesting, but it is definitely felt good since I added it in, and it makes a lot of sense. But as always, please like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for my Patreon. I'll keep you guys posted on that. Just waiting on a few things, and then I'm gonna fill it up with deck lists for the members and for the the free membership as well. And then I will post a link to it. So just keep an eye open for that. But let's get into a few games, and so I can show you how this deck works. Okay, first matchup, of course, is Sabine green. No mulligan. I think we're gonna go Sundari into K2SO, into Echo, into Poe. Didn't get the little combo. We were but it's okay. Turn 1 Zandari is absolutely fine. We are just going to go ahead and trade with Battlefield Marine. We could Spark of Hope here. It's unfortunate because the Gunslinger Spark of Hope combo would have been great for turn 1, but what are we getting rid of here? So we have Sakura and Poe, so we could play Poe next turn. If we Spark of Hope here, then we'll be able to ECL Poe or Sakura next turn, which is pretty strong. But then we can't do anything else this turn, unfortunately. I mean, that's still a pretty strong play, and then we have Han next turn, so let's get rid of one of our more expensive cards. Let's get rid of K2SO. Keep Echo as a form of life gain. Gain a little bit of life. We could cheat out Echo here, but let's just play Spark. And it just gives us the ability to ECL. Okay, here's another Cassian. I think we have 2, right? No, just 1. So first thing we're going to do is deploy this leader. Okay, just to kind of see what they're doing here. Okay, so because they don't have the Dark Saber, just ECL Poe, kill Sabine, keep Han alive. I think that's fine. I'm trying to think if we could do anything else here. No, we can't. We can't cheat out 2 units. Just we're actually gonna get rid of one of these and kill the fighters. Just play really good defense. I don't think we need another Spark at this point. Okay, another. We don't have a timely. Okay, we can't use our epic ability this turn, so the I mean, just go face. We're gonna outpace a 3/3. I want to keep my hands up. Okay, then we'll play Sakura, and then take the initiative. So we're just going to drop down Echo to protect our big guys. The Echo-based defender, that is, of course. So it'll die. Okay, well that's a thing. That is a thing. Okay. And at this point, Sabine cannot damage themselves because we have game. Just gonna go face. Okay, he's going face. Go ahead and get an Echo down. So you may discard a card from your hand, give 2 experience tokens. Oh, so I actually could have done this beforehand and pumped up my Sakura, which would have been pretty sweet. Then they would have had to kill it with Wrecker. Let's just do it for fun. Okay. Well then. They actually got a decent amount of damage on us because of Wrecker, but I would say we were just able to kind of take over with our Poe Secura. The Wrecker got around our Sentinel plan. Maybe it would have been better just to attack in, probably, in hindsight, right? Just to attack him with Poe. Let's do one more against Sabine just to kind of show you. Alright, up against Sabine green with the... We actually have the combo this turn, so... I'm pretty much going to just... do that and focus on getting our big things out quicker against them so that we can just trade into Sabine with Secure right away. Okay, well, that's pretty sweet. Okay. Sure. Battlefield Marine. So Han can kill Battlefield Marine. So we keep the Echo Base just in case. We're not going to try to cheat anything out this turn, so if they ECL in, it's fine. Because they're just attacking us, Sabine, we could just go ahead and just bring out a Wrecker, destroy a resource, kill K2SO, take 3 more from Sabine, go up to 10, then ECL and Secura, kill that, and then have Wrecker and Secura on board. Other option is play Echo Base Defender here, it survives. Then have it sit tight. Yeah, actually I think that's the better option. And then we can just double whammy with Wrecker next turn. It's odd how that one worked out. Go ahead and attack in with Echo Base. Okay, take our 3, or 6, yeah. We could just ECL in with Wrecker. I don't even want to do that, we're just gonna get in for 6. Yes. Okay. Do we have any timeless? Yeah, we do. We did just get a timely. Okay. So we can use that for Sundari if we need to, just to kind of gain a little bit of life. And we can also just pull a Reckless Gunslinger out if we want to. So let's just go Wrecker first. Okay. Red 3. I don't think there's any way that they can defeat us at this point. Yeah, nothing they could do there. Alright, so just kind of go with the flow of the matchup. as things progress. So it made more sense to play Echo Base because they had already ECL'd K2SO that turn. Echo Base would survive getting hit by Sabine, and it just blocks things a little bit. We did take 6 damage from K2SO, just 3 more than we would have liked. So I guess it was about the same damage that we would have taken if we didn't play Echo Base and we just killed Sakura or K2SO right away. So it ended up being the same. The difference was we had a 7-powered unit on board, so I guess that part made us get to our victory quicker. Up against Bossk here, and we actually have the Gunslinger combo again, which is sweet. So we'll get rid of the Assault Cruiser and the Cassian. Could pull out Cassian later. This allows us to get K2SO down immediately. Another Spark of Hope. I actually think we might use that here and cheat out. Well, because they immediately played a unit, I'm just going to play K2SO. Next turn we can do the Spark of Hope play. And since we're getting closer to Reinforcement Marker, I'm not getting rid of that. Okay. Interesting. Another one of those. I'm going to keep this Sundari so we can get a little more life. Okay. K2SO as a -2/2 is funny. We have not ECL'd yet. Spark of Hope. Get back that. Let's go to 7. We could ECL this, which I think is worth it because we can kill it with Han. Gain a little bit of life. Okay. I want to get that off the battlefield just because of what it does. What did he put on here? Oh, Death Mark, okay. I don't think we need a timely. Let's get in for some life gain first. Okay, doing pretty good. They gotta have a big, let's draw for now, just to fill up our hand a little bit more. Marauder's actually pretty good, because we have 2 units in space. Ouch. Well, that was ridiculous. Yeah. Oh, they can't. They could. Is there anything they could do to stop this? They could play entrenched, yeah. Let's get in for 6. Healer draw. We're at 10. Say we're okay. Marauder in and kill the system patrol craft. Do we have anything? No. Yeah, no. We don't have anything. Yeah, they're doing that, so we could go ahead and play. Gunslinger gets them to 24, so it puts us in range of winning. If they don't have an answer for our boy right away. Fang Fighter can resource. Fell the Dragon. Okay, they had an answer. That's okay. We do have to just kill this, unfortunately. Could timely again, but yeah, sure, it's fine. Let's play 1, 2. Just pass. I think we're good at 10 resources now. Okay. Is there second copy of Fell the Dragon? Okay. I think Wrecker's our best threat, right? That has 4 HP. I think we're still just holding on to some cards here. Don't need a resupply. Okay. That wasn't it. They could have played Crate Dragon, it wouldn't have done anything. Bloodsport wouldn't have done anything. Fell the Dragon absolutely would have done something. Laser Blast would have done something. So that was just a weird misplay. So let's say that they went Fell the Dragon, because that made more sense. Then we would have gone probably just Echo and possibly Bright Hope, just to protect our life total. And then if they Laser Blast, you know, we'd have gone from there. I'd say we're in pretty good shape though, because we still have Cassian too. That's another thing that we could do after a Laser Blast, and just to swing in. So and that's kind of what we're saving it for, is for that moment where we can just use it to get that last damage in. So we use our hand as much as we can. We use our resources whenever we can. We have the tech, which I probably would have just resourced the following turn as a way to get things back and just pull it out after the impending Laser Blast. So I think we're in good shape against control. And I mean, our sideboard is like 3 home 1, 2 pillage, a couple Fell the Dragon, super laser tech as another form of ramp, another Crate Dragon. So we have a lot of cards for control that would be coming in. Alright, up against Maul green here. We don't have the combo this time, but we do have a lot of turn 1 plays. Sabling Fang Fighter is actually going to be pretty impactful. I like our curve of just like Sundari, Echo, and Consortium. So let's resource Cassian, Spark. I think we want to just keep our life total as protected as possible. It doesn't look like they have a turn 1 play. Consortium's the better choice because we're less likely to use it. I'm going to keep the Echoes so we can discard. Another card I've been considering, well, there you go, is the Baby Echo in this list, just because it makes this card so much better. And then the Baby Echo itself can still, like, once we're at 3 units on board, I could still cheat it in for 1 resource, and it'll do 2 damage to itself as a 4/4. So it still makes sense in here regardless. So I was contemplating that before I was playing this last video, and I'm kind of leaning towards yes, but I'm not sure what to cut yet. Crate Dragon is really hard to, but I guess, you know, we have tech, so we can get it back later. Okay, no ECL there. It does have 5 power, so trying to decide. We could resupply here and kill that with Han Solo and Liv, which I like the idea of that, actually. I do like the idea of that. Okay. Sneak out Hanathon. Okay. He can kill our pawn, but that's totally fine. Fang Fighter is going to be, like I said, really impactful if they have a Fallen Lightsaber. Another one of these, okay. So we're just going to use Han to kill that. I'm not worried about a 1-2 damage unit. I think this is a good time to ECL Echo. Well, maybe not. I don't want to waste a Sailing Fang Fighter, though. This is a 6/6, right? So if we ECL it in, we can kill that next turn. So that's pretty important. So let's just do it like this, where we save 1 Fang Fighter. Okay, well there's another one. Well, there you go. Okay, yeah, we're totally doing the ECL play now. And this is why I want the Baby Echo, for this exact reason. Because we can do this so easy. We can do this on turn 2 if we have the combo. And that's just huge, man. It's really huge. I think things we're watching out for now are like Fallen Lightsaber, Maul. We're just trying to find some more big stuff. Body cohorts, okay. Let's go in with here first. Guess Maul could kill Sundari if he has a Maul. Okay, yeah, that's nice. Let's just play the cohort. Kill this, so that he can't kill Sundari unless he has a Maul. Okay. No damage there. Unless he mauls us, which is totally possible. Okay, 5th brother. I think at this point we're just going to go wide so that they have a hard time dealing with what we have on the board. Okay, they're empty. There's Reinforcement Walker as the card that takes us over the top. Alright, and I think that's gonna do it. It was a pretty clean win. I do think that was because of the Echo thing. And the Echo thing, again, a 6/6, when we don't have a Poe or a Sakura, it just makes the deck even more powerful, and I think that's a card I really, really want in here. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to cut for that. But yeah, another smooth win there. I mean, they resourced the wrong cards. Like, Maul shouldn't have been resourced. Squadron shouldn't have been resourced. If they had this, that shouldn't have been resourced. Because they had troopers. But, I mean, we still did take this card out immediately, which is huge. Like, if you kill that thing right away, then the deck loses a lot of power, so...